Welcome to the Web Hosting Cat Podcast, brought to you by webhostingcat.com. Here's your host, Michael James.
Hi again, everyone. With many SEO experts now telling us that just using traditional organic search is no longer sufficient to drive traffic and conversions to your websites, many of you may be considering utilizing PPC ads or online advertising. Justin Hill, Account Director at Yahoo, is my guest today and will explain all about getting started with advertising your website and what you need to consider when starting out. Okay, I'm pleased to have as my guest today from Yahoo Advertising, Justin Hill. He's going to help us out. For any of you out there who are thinking about going with some online advertising for customer acquisition and brand awareness, Justin, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Let's start out with just a little bit about what you do with Yahoo.
So I focus on bringing in new advertisers that don't currently have a relationship with Yahoo. We call it the acquisition team, but essentially what it comes down to is I consider myself sort of the Walmart greeter of Yahoo. I sort of get you in the door, find out where you need to go, and get you a long-term place with us.
Mm-hmm. Now let me ask you, can all types of websites benefit from online advertising for their brand awareness, customer acquisition?
Absolutely, and on top of that, there's also a lot of direct response. If you've got a website, then as long as there's some type of monetization you're trying to do, then your goal is to try and drive traffic, and that's what we do with Yahoo. Is we whether it's search, native, display, we have all kinds of advertising that we do. I mean, we're Yahoo, for God's sakes, and so we focus very heavily on using our traffic to find the right person to get to your site.
Awesome. Now, Justin, can you just briefly go over some of the specific advertising mechanisms like video display, mobile?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of people consider video to be more brand awareness. We use it both for brand awareness as well as direct response. If you're doing brand awareness, then obviously you buy on a CPM, a cost per thousand. If you're looking more for somebody to actually take that next step, that next action, and come through to your website, then usually we try and price that on a CPC model instead, and our algorithms in the back end try and make sure we find you the right spot to get in front of it. When it comes to search is really good, especially for smaller websites, because it's high intent. It's more of the pull advertising rather than push advertising. Mm-hmm. So it's one of the highest intent, best ROI advertising. There's not a lot of websites out there that shouldn't be doing search. You look at native advertising. Native is something that really started cropping up over the last 3 or 4 years. Right now, that accounts for about half of Yahoo's overall display impressions. It's one of our biggest products. And the great thing about it is you can buy it on a CPC, you can buy it on a CPM. It can be for direct response, it can be for branding, you can do native video, native app install. It's a very versatile product, and I have a really heavy search background. However, that being said, native is sort of one of those things that we're focusing very heavily on because it's almost just as versatile as search at this point in time. You can. There's again not a lot of advertisers that can't find some way to make some native campaign working. It's just all about targeting. Any advertising is about making sure that you're not paying for anybody to look at it. You're paying for the people you want to look at it.
Gotcha. Justin, what advice would you give for first-time website owners who are thinking about going with online advertising? How much of a budget do you think they should have, and things like that?
Well, my biggest advice is just testing. A lot of people are very risk adverse, and I get that. When I hear somebody saying they're risk adverse, that just means, okay, test with a smaller budget. But you have to test because you never know what's going to work. For Yahoo, you can. I have people that spend $5-10 a day, and they come through our pipeline, and those are more of those self-service advertisers. With any advertising company, you're going to need to hit a certain sort of minimum threshold before it really becomes profitable for us to have somebody actually directly managing your account. A lot of my clients personally, I'm looking for someone that's willing to spend sort of in that $10,000 a month range, but very few people start out there. No one wants that to be their test. So I usually just say, hey, are you willing to commit to, let's say, $200 a day for the next 10 days, do a 10-day test, something like that. If you break it down smaller, because after 10 days, maybe 2 weeks total, we're going to know whether it's going to work for you. That gives me time to optimize it. That gives you time to see how the performance is going to be. We test, we measure. It's all about making sure you have the right parameters set up ahead of time, so that way you can get that test and make it successful and find out if that's going to work for you.
Now, again, for first-timers, what are some of the key metrics they should be looking at in their testing results?
Absolutely. So it really just depends on my first question for any of my clients when I'm first talking to them is, how do you make money? Because that's the metric you care about. So if it's that you have a newsletter subscription, if it's something where you're trying to get somebody to buy an actual product off your website or download an ebook, whatever that is, we need to find out what your money-making metric is, and then how are we going to measure that? Because if I don't know how I'm going to measure that, then I can't appropriately optimize to try and drive those numbers. So let's say an example, it was a newsletter sign-up or something like that. You're just trying to get people through that funnel so you can get a newsletter sign-up. That gives you a whole other way to reach out to them. So as long as you're tracking appropriately, and every time I send somebody through there, you know that you've got that newsletter sign-up, and then you can tell me, we have our pixel on your site, for instance. We fire some JavaScript, and now we know that, okay, this is the keyword, or this is the native ad that delivered that actual sign-up. Now I can go through and optimize that. I mean, we've got scientists galore at Yahoo that go through it and have this algorithm on the back end to try and optimize that. All we have to do is make sure that our systems are able to know when they've hit that number. So a lot of people focus on CPC. A lot of people focus on click-through rate. Click-through rate is huge because if you have a better click-through rate, our systems will actually give you a better discount, a deeper discount on the CPC. So there's your bid. Let's say you're bidding $1 per click, but you might only be paying 70 cents per click. And if your CTR is better than the next guy's, maybe you're only paying 50 cents per click, even though you're bidding $1. So the bid is just the top number you're going to hit, and then based on how well your ad performs, you may end up paying significantly less than that.
Great. Okay. That sounds great. So if somebody wants to get started with Yahoo, what exactly do they need to do? Go to the Yahoo
Yeah, I mean,
page?
you can go to advertising.yahoo.com and fill out a form that goes directly to my team, so that way we can have a chat with you. You can always go to gemini.yahoo.com and you can sign up directly through there if you want to sign up for an account. That'll get you through to the self-serve process. If you really don't feel like you have that budget, you're just trying to test it out, but you don't think that you're at that level yet where you want to have an actual direct representative yet. And then you can still, even if you do that, you can go up to the top of the account and there's a little gear icon there. You click that and contact customer support through there. So you can still get in touch with us. It's just a matter of, and we'll, if things go really well for you there, we'll notice it and we may proactively reach out to you as well. So those are probably the two best avenues. Like I said, advertising.yahoo.com, you can contact us through that form, or you can go directly and just sign up for an account.
Great. Well, this has been great, and I really want to thank you for spending time with us today. It's been very informative, and go to Yahoo, everyone. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you so much.
And a big shout out again to Justin for being our guest. That's going to do it for this edition of the podcast. For more website tips, be sure to visit us at webhostingcat.com. Until next time, this is Michael James wishing you, as always, the very best with your website endeavors. Thanks for listening and take care now.
You've been listening to the Web Hosting Cat Podcast, sponsored by webhostingcat.com. The preceding program is copyrighted 2017 by Tux Cat Media.